Entrepreneur life requires risk, persistence, and a slightly unreasonable belief that this thing you're building is going to work.
And let's not forget copious amounts of caffeine.
Yes, that too.
Hey guys, I'm Allison, the Caffeinated Entrepreneur, an AI-powered business strategist and systems builder with an energy level that should probably come with a warning label.
And I'm Bernie, the man behind the mustache. I'm a virtual events producer who makes sure the tech works, the delivery is clean, and nobody panics, including Allison.
Each week, we are picking up the conversation where my weekly newsletter leaves off. No teaching, no pretending we have it all figured out.
Just two entrepreneurs talking honestly about the highs and lows of growing our own businesses.
And why some ideas are worth sipping on a little bit longer. Welcome to the Caffeinated Entrepreneur. Let's go behind the brew. Hey guys, grab your favorite caffeinated beverage and join us for today's episode where we're going behind the brew of issue 36. Entrepreneurship is a lonely parade. Hello there, Bernie. How are you doing today?
Hello, Allison. I am doing well. Thank you. And yourself?
It has been a very busy couple of days. For those of you who've listened to past episodes, we finally went under contract on a house over the weekend. And it's actually been longer than you think because we haven't recorded in a few weeks. So this is actually more like a month after we were talking about this last. But yeah, it's, and it's, I'm just going to say it, it's house number 5, but I'm like, this was the right one. I say all that to say this, if inspections don't go well tomorrow, we cut the thing, but fingers crossed, inspections go well.
Things could change quickly. Let's hope that they don't.
Yeah, right. You're not kidding. But yeah, so I have been just overwhelmed with paperwork and contracts and appointments and getting kids transfer paperwork for schools and all the things. And then on top of everything that's happening in my business, which is new website, new program build, new clients, new everything. So it's been a busy 48 hours, but good, but busy. And I don't have any coffee in my coffee cup because I drank it all already today because I've been so busy. So that's part of my problem.
Shame on you, Allison. Shame on you for not having coffee. You know that's the lifeblood of this whole podcast.
I know.
How you run your business. I don't really understand how you're in function right now.
So if I'm just not present during this episode, we all know why.
That's why.
We all know why. Bernie, carry us today. Okay.
Oh goodness, that is a tall order, Allison.
Well, I think we're going to start it off by, my coffee cup is sad and empty. Do you have anything special in your coffee cup today?
Little whisk. No, just coffee.
No. Not that kind of special.
I do love those memes though, where they're, if you blow on a coffee cup, everyone thinks you're drinking coffee.
Yeah, right? No kidding. They have no idea what's really
No
inside.
idea what's really in there. Oh my goodness.
That's a good point. I can't imagine ever doing that on a meeting, but I know some people who would.
Probably not. I have a
We
few
know some people who would.
I have a few people in mind that I suspect are, not just would.
My gosh, well, that's for another day. But anyway, let me throw our first question at you so you can start carrying the podcast. So we're doing Entrepreneurship Is a Lonely Parade. And the backstory here is that my family and I went to the Veterans Day Parade here in town last fall. And it was really quite sad. The streets were empty. And it just encouraged me and my husband and my kids to cheer that much harder as these old men were literally driving around on their little, scooters decked out in their military gear because we wanted them to know that they are important and what they did and what they sacrificed mattered. But it really inspired me to think about entrepreneurship. Feels like an empty parade sometimes. Feels like there's no one there cheering for us. There's no one there to welcome us home. So I'm curious though, for you, do you find it lonelier in business when things are hard or lonelier when things are actually going really well, but you don't have anyone to share it with?
Oh, that is such a good question. I mean, obviously when you're on your own, there are those really tough times where you really need someone And there's also those really fantastic times where you just want to celebrate, get a high five, like do the thing. And as a solopreneur, entrepreneur, oftentimes there isn't anyone just there. Like there's no water cooler for you to go and celebrate around. You don't have coworkers generally. Like it's tough. I would say
Mhm.
for me, probably having someone to share the hard times with is the harder of the two.
Mhm.
Personally, I'm one of those people where I don't really like to talk about my successes all that much because I feel like I'm inviting something to happen. Like I get scared when things are going right, thinking that the other
You're
shoe's
gonna
gonna
jinx
fall,
it.
right? So I'm really always very hesitant to share successes until like there's no chance of it being clawed back. Then it's like, yeah, 6 months ago I won and it was amazing. I've been dying to tell all of you, but I didn't want to jinx it. So for me, the sharing the wins is the hard part, and having someone to talk about the tough times with, like that. There's more value in that for me. Like I wish I had more of those people in my world. We're going to talk a bit more about
Yeah.
this, but I have a few that I really rely on and count on, and without them, I
Mhm.
don't know where I would be, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And I would say it's funny because, this will not come as a surprise. I am a talker. I talk to everybody about everything. I'm very transparent. I'm very I'll share my dirty laundry. It doesn't matter to me. So I don't struggle with talking about when business is hard or when it's success. Like I don't struggle. What I have found though is that I tend to overshare with the wrong people, or not now, but earlier on in my business, I did. I just felt like, well, we're all in it together, right? And I learned the hard way that when you share the hard times with people who are really don't have your best interest at heart, they hold that so that when you share the good stuff, they can bring the bad stuff back up. And I learned early that I needed to choose my parade fans, if you will, better as to who I was inviting in because I was sharing openly with too many people. So quite the opposite problem, and it did not pan out well for me. It was very, very emotionally hard to have people snatch, that win right out of my, they took my breath away. Was it? They took the wind
Out of
out of
your
my
sales,
sail.
yeah.
Yeah, because they were bringing up stuff that was not great about my business, which was disappointing.
Well, I think it's important to remember, and I think you came to this realization, like, even though people aren't necessarily against you, that it doesn't necessarily mean that they're for you, right?
Yeah.
And there are people out there that will use those nuggets of information as opportunities to get one over or whatever the case is. Like you have to be careful about who you have in your universe and who you confide in, because
Mhm.
as you kind of found out the hard way, if you're confiding in the wrong people who will use that information against you, it is a painful lesson.
Yeah. Well, and my mom always used this analogy back when I was a teenager and you're making friends or frenemies, whichever they might be. But she always used the analogy of like crabs in a bucket. One crab you put in a bucket, it'll eventually find its way out, but all you need is two
Mhm.
because when one starts to climb out, the other one pulls it down. And when you get them all in the bucket, that's it. No
Nobody's going
one's
anywhere.
getting out because they're all going to be on top of each other. And so I feel like I learned that in business, it is the same way. If you choose crabs and, not some other type of fish that's an awesome fish. Dolphins, I guess. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that analogy. No coffee in the cup, okay?
This might end up being our most deregulated episode ever. Like just all over the place because Alice does have coffee.
Thank goodness for edits. But all right, so then when you are experiencing this empty parade season, right, which you don't necessarily always, but in the moment, where's the first place that you think your brain goes? Whether it's like, I want to share an excitement, but I can't, or something's struggling and I need advice, but I can't, like whatever. Where do you go first mentally?
Oh man. I mean, I guess my classic MO is I kind of internalize everything. I shut down first.
Yeah.
Try to sort through it all on my own, which probably isn't the healthiest thing to do in most cases, but I try to do that. And then secondarily, the step is, okay, who can I reach out to talk to? Who can I get some help from? Right? Who in my
Mhm.
world do I know has some expertise or experience with the thing? But yeah, my first go to is shutting the F down.
I don't think that this will come as a shock to you or anybody. I am the
I know.
opposite. As soon as I am in empty parade season, I spiral out like a Tasmanian devil and I start doing all the things, taking all the actions, creating all the content and spewing it out everywhere. Like I go into overdrive because either A, I'm trying to compensate for what went wrong by trying to find something else that's going to land and make things better, right? Or option two, which is if things went really great, I'm like, I have to tell the world. And I do. And so that is less likely what, the situation. Usually it's the taking a ton of action in just hopes that by throwing spaghetti at the wall, something will stick that will make me feel better about whatever it is that I'm really struggling with. So
Well,
it's my
I'd
Achilles heel.
say to that, Allison, is I would prefer if I were more like you in this case, because I feel like I don't make any progress forward until I make a decision and then start moving forward, and and
Mhm.
taking action, right? Whereas you start taking action and then figure out what makes sense from the mess that's on the wall. You're making progress immediately. I'm sitting in analysis paralysis for a little while before any action happens.
It's true, but at the same time, when as I've learned to be more streamlined and to control that impulse, I find that sometimes I am taking action out of fear of what could happen, not what did happen, and then it's like self-fulfilling prophecy. I take the actions that make the thing I was worried about, that I was stressing about, actually come to fruition. And if I had just chilled, just let the conversation not happen for the next, 3 days or not posted the thing or not reacted, would have worked itself out. Like I didn't have to like do the thing that I did that kind of caused the problem that I was afraid was
What's
going
going
to
to
be the
happen?
problem. Yeah.
I would say
So,
that is probably the opposite side of for me, right? Like is because I sit and I analyze it for a little while. I'm not going to make a hasty decision, often a knee jerk reaction or something to a situation,
mhm.
right? I'm going to sit and chew on it for probably a couple of days before I do something with it. And so I will say that by doing that, I have saved myself some heartache in the past.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. So I think there's pros and cons to
for
both of
sure.
our approaches. Same brew, different cup,
Yeah.
y'all. So I want to though, I'm gonna bring this up before I talk about this idea of the core four. So real quick, I'll talk about the idea of the core four. I'll explain the backstory of it, and then I'll ask you the question. So the core is technically an Alex Hermosi concept. It has nothing to do with people in your business. It's actually about like how you market yourself. But a dear friend and mentor who's also in the trenches with me, like she's all these things, she applies the same core four methodology to having four people in your world that you can go to depending on what you need when you're either excited, when you're spiraling, when you're sad, like four people that you can lean on. And so I took that and I actually shared it in the newsletter. But here's what I actually discovered. And this is sort of fascinating. You and I are in a networking group together. And even though I wouldn't say my core four are in that group specifically, I could fill my core four with people solely from our networking group. And that moment hit me. I was actually having a coffee chat with a gentleman who is in our bigger networking group, but he's in a different chapter. And he was he was struggling with a conversation he had had with someone that we had a mutual connection with. Um, and he had kind of had a call with this person. The call didn't go the way he was expecting. And I just started working with him. And so he literally called me and he was like, here's what happened. I'm really struggling with how it went. Did I do something wrong? And like, he barely knows me. Like, we just started working together on my stuff. But I was like, no, dude, you're fine. Here's why. Right. And I was just able to give him like some straight, direct feedback. And he thanked me and he was like, man, like, thanks. Just appreciate being able to talk to a peer. Like, it's lonely at the top, if you will. And I was like, oh, like I felt so bad for him because I'm like, well, I'm not lonely. My networking group is filled with people that I can go talk to at any given moment. So, would you say that is true about our little growth mode engaged group?
I would absolutely say that. I mean, within our group alone, we cover how many different industries, verticals, subject matter expertise. Like If I had a
Yeah.
question about how to invest or how my taxes should be done or right anything within my business finance, like we have people in all of those spaces I could reach out to at
Yeah.
any time, right? Marketing, we got it covered. AI got it covered, right? Like we have so many experts within the group that I could literally solve almost any problem in my business with
Mhm.
the people within our group. Um,
Yeah.
I feel like we are more of an anomaly than the norm. Not every group,
Mhm.
even within SCN, and no disrespect to SCN in any way, shape, or form, but not every group is the same, right? Not
Mhm.
everybody runs them the same. Not everybody leans into it the same as members.
Yeah.
I would say that's one of the biggest things that's different about our group, is that everybody understands why they're there, and they lean in. They show up every week. They're there to support each other, not just get referrals.
Yeah. Well, and I would say that too. Yeah. You've done an excellent job. And we've talked about this in previous episodes. It's a culture thing.
Mhm.
The culture of our group is, yeah, we're networking to grow our businesses, but we're growing relationships first, which naturally grows our businesses in one way or the other, whether it's through direct referrals or it's through advice. So I love that you said that. So
And I would
I
even
was going to,
argue that uh, we probably bring more perceived value to our members by not focusing on the referrals than otherwise. Almost to the person within our group that has been the feedback. Like, yes, they started networking to get referrals to do business development, but the value they take is not in the referrals and the transactions. It's in
Mhm.
right the weekly teaches, in the roundtables, and all the discussions that we have as a group, and the ability to reach out to anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, I would honestly, to your point, I have reached out to people in our group and who I don't even have a great relationship with, but because we're in growth mode engaged, I can be like, "Hey dude, I got this problem, the email's not working. Like, what the heck?
Mm-hmm.
Let's get on a call and fix that for you." And I'm like, "Oh my
Yep.
gosh." Yeah.
Yep.
I know.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So, all right, let me talk about who my friend and mentor and peer says should be your core four. And then you can tell me who it is for you if you're comfortable sharing. I'm going to make you share anyway. I don't care if you're comfortable. Let's be honest. All right. So, the core four is you should have someone outside of the business world that cares about you and is going to be your cheerleader when things are great and who's going to cry with you when things suck, right? Like they are literally whatever you are at emotionally, they're matching you, baby, because they know you need it. Then you need a mentor or a coach who, yes, will let you lick your wounds, but will not let you wallow and who's going to give you tough love and great advice when you need it. You need someone who is in the trenches of building a business right alongside you, right? Call it your peer, your biz bestie, your colleague, whatever you want. But they're like, I'm struggling, you're struggling, let's struggle and celebrate together. And then, like I said, you need the tech fixer who does not flinch. You could be like, my blue screen of death, what do I do? And they're like, breathe, press these three buttons and hold it for 30 seconds and everything will reboot. And you're like, you saved me. So, who are those for you? And if you need me to go through them one at a time again, let me know.
Yeah, I probably will need you to go through them again, but I will start with the cheerleader. I mean, that's Ty, that's my spouse. Like, obviously anything that I do, she's super proud of me, super encouraging. I could tell her that the world is on fire and it would still be okay, right? She'd pat me on
Mhm.
the back once I've sulked for a little while, give me a hug, and everything would be good. The coach, the mentor. I would probably say that is my friend Bob Russo. He is both an executive business coach, but also a shaman. So he's a spiritual guide as well.
Mhm.
He is a former IBM executive and he knows his way around business. So I kind of get both sides from the coaching perspective from him. I absolutely love that man.
Nice.
Then the tech. I actually don't have anyone in that spot specifically. But if I run into tech issues, I have a few people. John Hoffman being one of those people, especially
Mhm.
if it has anything to do with the marketing side of
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah.
Tom Macchia, obviously within our group, he's an MSP.
Yep.
So I've reached out.
I've leaned on both of them.
Yep, I've reached out to him a couple of times when I've run into those things. I find that the tech piece is kind of interchangeable based on what you actually need help with. Like there's some things I would
Right.
not go to John for, although I'm sure he's knowledgeable in them. I would likely go to Tom first because it's more general IT, right?
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
that there are certain people that all fit that bench seat, if you will.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the
What
last,
about your peer that's in the trenches?
well, you may not say the same, but I would say it's you.
Aw, thanks, Bernie.
Yeah.
And he says that as we got on this call before we started recording, and I'm like, like just dumping on him all the stuff that's been happening in my business. So very mutual.
Yeah. Did I miss any? That's all four, right? Yeah.
That's all 4. That's all 4. Okay, got it. So, all right. So for me, the outside my business, now it is my husband now. It has not always been. But I'll tell you what, both my mom and my oldest sister, they're like those people who they're very much outside of the world that I live in terms of what I do in my online business. But man, I could tell them that I was gonna like, you know, take over Mars with, whatever spaceship that I stole from Elon Musk, they'd be like, great, we're going to buy tickets on your next ride. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're like ride or dies. You know what I mean?
It's low tech.
And then if I want to just like, this sucks, they're like, oh, honey, business is so hard. Like, so it's nice to have them. Of course, the mentor coach is my business coach. I talk about Michelle all the time. Been with her for over 2 years now, and she's taken me from like the $60 an hour OBM to what I am doing now with my group program, moving in tripling my business revenue like crazy. She's incredible. Then the peer biz bestie. So I have 2. I would definitely say you're one of them because you're stuck with me. I just suck you into everything that I do. So you hear from me a lot. And then the other one is this person who kind of invented the core 4, if you will. My friend Samantha, she was one of my very first networking partners. I joined her networking group, and for whatever crazy reason, she singled me out and she was like, we should talk. Like her networking group's like 350 people, and she meets me and she's like, we should have a coffee chat. And then the relationship just grew from there. And now we're on Vox. You should be glad you and I aren't on Voxer because I Vox her at all hours, anytime I want. And she Voxes back. If y'all don't know what Voxer is, it's like walkie-talkie type stuff. But it's like now it's not just business. She knows about my family, she knows about my life, so we've crossed that over. But I can literally say anything and everything to her. And then the tech fixer who doesn't flinch, I also have John and Tom for sure. But of course, I think of the AI tech person, which is the woman who got me into AI to begin with, which is this woman CT, Kathy Tarbucks. She's the one that started me down AI to begin with. And I'm like, she changed my whole life. Like I would not have the business I have today had it not been for what she started in me a couple of years ago. So I always can reach out to her if I'm, having issues there. So those are my 4.
Nice. I'll add one more to my 4, and only because it absolutely makes sense. My predecessor is also my coach, right? I bought the business from her. I
Yeah.
retired her 98%. I still retain that 2% of her time that I can just say, hey,
Heck yeah. Yeah. When you need them, they're
yep,
there. And I would imagine she's also a bit of a cheerleader. You know what I mean? Who's like, you got this, Bernie. You got this.
absolutely.
Yeah. I'm the biz bestie who comes in and is like, Bernie, stop that. Smack. Like I'm that one. So, all right. So you don't have any empty spots right now. So, there's not anything that I think either one of us really is like, oh, I made a bad decision because I didn't have anyone to go to. Like, I don't feel like we don't do that now. Have you ever felt like that in the past? Like, if I'd only had that person, was there maybe a decision that you made or something that you like just kept you stuck longer than it should have because you didn't have anyone to talk to?
I would say that it probably less of didn't have anyone to talk to as opposed to the analysis paralysis, just sitting on the problem for longer than I needed to, as opposed to
Yeah.
asking whoever it was for the help that I needed. I
Mhm.
would consider myself very lucky that I'm pretty personable. I have a little bit of charisma. Most people enjoy hanging out with me and talking. Like, there's a lot of people that I could reach out to if I needed help.
Yeah.
It's usually I'm the bottleneck. I'm the problem, and
Yeah.
not that I didn't have someone that I could reach out to.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, and again, my opposite, right? My bad decisions have been when I didn't go to somebody first and I just made the decision and took the action. Then I was like, oh crap. I should have asked somebody what they thought about that first. I've said this before. My coach and my friend Sam, both of them are like, I am so afraid to give you advice that I am not sure you should take because you don't think about anything. You just
You.
go. And I'm like, I do. I do. I know. But anyway, it's falling forward, right? We're falling forward all the time. So, is there anything about you, and I know that maybe this is more specific to you because I've said this, like I'm an open book. I don't struggle letting people into my world. In fact, I learned the hard way I shouldn't. Do you find that there is a hardest part about letting people in? Like, do you feel very selective about who you let in to be one of those core four people?
Uh, I don't know that I'm necessarily selective from like a filter quality, perspective, but it takes me a while to be able to share with people, right? Like, I
Mhm.
need to know that they have my best interests, at heart in the conversation that we're having. I'm not going
Yeah.
to share the dirty laundry with somebody that I've only met once or twice, right? Like,
Yeah.
we have to have been hanging out for a year or two. That's just it.
And
Like,
I was gonna say, and this has come up, I feel like this is just a theme because one of the things you and I talked about episodes ago was about like collaboration opportunities. And you're like, yeah, I have to like know the person, like, met with them at least 3 or 4 times. And I'm like, meanwhile, I'm gonna meet someone on a coffee chat that I've never talked to before. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we should do a webinar together. So different approach, different approach.
sometimes they work though. Like, sometimes you meet someone though, like, and you're just like, yes, this is it. Now,
Yeah.
unfortunately, more often than not, that is a feeling and not the reality of it. And that's
Yes.
why you need 2 or 3 or 4 meetings afterwards to be like, okay, yeah, they're actually worth
Yeah.
doing this thing with.
Sure. And I think that applies even more fully to this concept, which is like who do you let into your
100%.
world to make, someone that you confide in, both when you're celebrating and when you're struggling. And yeah, I don't know, like I said, for me, I don't struggle sharing. I've got to be careful who I share with, and the amount that I share. But it's, it's nice to have people that I can immediately go to and just be like, "Bleh," whatever it is.
Absolutely. I mean,
It's nice.
that is one thing I'm very, I guess, very happy about from a networking perspective, is that I have built up a strong enough network with strong
Mhm.
enough relationships over time that there's really not a business problem that I have that there's not someone I could not reach out to.
And I will say this too, and I think that this is part of the culture that we have in Growth Mode Engaged. You have to care about other people growing their businesses
Mm.
in general, but especially in a networking group. You can't show up with the thought of what am I going to get today? It has to be what am I going to give today? And that matters, I think, in any sort of coaching, group coaching program, mastermind, networking group, anything. When you show up with that mindset of how can I support other people rather than how can they feed my business, grow my business, support me, I think that's the easiest way to build the relationships that eventually become
Absolutely.
someone that you can reach out to at a moment's notice when you do need them.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I hate to make Donnie's head big, but he did say something to me a long time ago that made a whole hell of a lot of sense. And it's just that networking is not about growing your business. It is about growing other people's business. If you help other people grow their
Yeah.
business, they're going to help you grow your business. And it sounds so counterintuitive, especially in the way that people are taught to network, right? People are taught to
Mhm.
go in and look for the referrals, try and find your client, blah,
Yep.
blah, blah, like all that stuff. And that is the absolute opposite of what Donnie teaches. And
Yeah.
the funny part is, though, is if you actually do it, if you actually care more about other people's businesses and helping them to grow, giving them value,
Mhm.
I'll be damned, they come around and start doing things to
Listen,
help
you and
you.
I
Crazy.
you and I are literally proof. We are living
Yep.
proof
Yep.
of how our relationship has grown each other's
Yep.
businesses.
Absolutely true.
So,
Yep.
I love it. All right, friends. So here is the big takeaway that I think Bernie and I would agree to. Entrepreneurship is hard, but awesome, but also quiet, kind of in a way that nobody is warning you about when you get started. And when you are building something from scratch and you realize that the big moments are not always coming with a crowd to either cry with you or cheer for you, that is when those relationships, specifically the core four that I mentioned, actually mean a lot. Not because they're like some fluffy, feel good, like whatever, but because they keep you steady when your brain starts lying to you or confusing you or just shutting down in Bernie's case.
Yep.
So this week, I think that instead of pushing through, I would encourage you to sort of audit the people in your business world. Of those core four, maybe pick out one that you don't have yet and then try to actually fill it intentionally. If you're not already part of a networking group, I think Bernie and I would encourage you to go out there and join one.
Yep.
And Success Champion Networks is always taking visitors.
That's right.
You can come join us there.
Find your tribe.
Exactly. So, also, if you happen to know another business owner who is living in silence right now, friend, be the person that claps loudly when they are excited and who wraps your arms around them, virtually when they are sad. Encourage them to get back up and keep going. So, anything else, Bernie, that you want to share?
I think it is super important to have a strong network and to identify who the core four are. If you don't have them, go get them. Be intentional about finding those people because it is lonely as an entrepreneur. You don't have the water cooler like you do in most businesses when you're an employee. And so you have to create that for yourself as an entrepreneur, and you have to do it intentionally.
Yeah, I love it. So, guys, thanks for listening. Keep showing up, keep taking the next step because the caffeine is strong.
So are you.